In Kenyan politics, it's all about numbers. What will you bring to the table? In my last episode, I showed you how Gachagua rejected Raila Odinga's calls for national dialogue. He was insisting that the only way to remove President Ruto is through the 2027 ballot. I explained how this reveals deep cracks in the opposition and signals a massive political battle ahead. But in this video, let us look at a new possibility shaking Kenya's political scene. Could Gachagua and Natembeya actually join forces to remove President Ruto? Welcome to my YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is DMTV Kenya. I'm Dalmas, and here I talk politics the way it is. I don't hide, I don't fear, and I speak so that every Kenyan can understand. If you are tired of politicians lying to you, this is your home. Subscribe now, because today's episode might reveal how Gachagua and Natembeya could change Kenya's future. And let us start this analysis from the side of Gachagua. Gachagua has become the loudest critic of President Ruto after being pushed out of the inner circle of government. He's popular in Mount Kenya, especially among the people who feel betrayed by high taxes, rising costs of living, and broken promises from the president has not been fulfilled. You remember very well during the campaigns 2022, Ruto promised heavily Mount Kenya. I want to tell you that Gachagua is a fighter. He's aggressive, outspoken, and not afraid to take on his former boss. But Gachagua also carries heavy baggage. Men see him as a controversial guy, rough around the edges, and still haunted by corruption allegations from his time in government. Now, let us look also the side of Natembeya. This guy is emerging as a fresh face in Kenyan politics. He's the governor of Natembeya and known for speaking fearlessly. People like him because he has been seen as the honest, bold, and willing to call out government failures, including the police brutality and corruption. He's connecting well with the young people who are tired of the same old faces in politics. But the problem with Natembeya, he faces big challenges. He has no strong national political machine, and he's still new in the game compared to old political heavyweights. So the big question here was, could these two join forces and remove President Ruto in 2027? That was the big question here. In my own style, let me tell you that it's possible, but it won't be easy at the same time. If Gachagua and Natembeya come together, they will bring power forces into one basket. But Gachagua would bring a large chunk of Mount Kenya forts. That's the reason most of us, we believe that every president who has ruled this country has been successful through Mount Kenya. Now, young Kenyans across the country who want fresh leaders are seeing that Natembeya and Gachagua could come up with a strategy that will bring President Ruto down. Such a duo will definitely scare President Ruto's team. That's because it would combine two key regions, that's Mount Kenya and Western Kenya. If those regions decide to walk away from President Ruto, his chances of winning a second term will drop sharply. And with Natembeya speaking boldly about corruption and government failures, they could attract Gen Z who have shown that they are already tired with this regime and they want change. But there are major obstacles in this duo. Number one, Gachagua and Natembeya are very different people. Gachagua is tough, sometimes controversial, and plays old school politics. Natembeya is softer in his approach and he appeals most of the things in a modern way. Progressive and voters who don't like tribal politics will admire George Natembeya. The second thing I want to talk about is that both George Natembeya and Rigathi Gachagua, to be the top post, Gachagua sees himself as the senior leader from Mount Kenya and might refuse to be anyone's debut. Natembeya, who represents new energy and youth, might also refuse to play second fiddle. If they can't decide who leads and who follows, I want to tell you that the alliance could collapse before it even starts. Number three, President Ruto will not sit quietly. He has a powerful political machine, and we know him as a skilled person who has been in the game for a long period of time. He will use promises, he will give appointments and money to split a new coalition that threatens him. He might try to label Gachagua as a tribalist and Natembeya as too inexperienced for national leadership. Another big factor is Raila Odinga. If Raila Odinga decides to run again in 2027, he could split votes that might have won to Natembeya. But if Raila joins forces with Gachagua and Natembeya, it could create one of the biggest political movements in this country we have never seen. However, that also would require these leaders to put aside what we call ego and personal ambitions, something that has never been easy in Kenyan politics. This is according to my understanding, and let me say it plainly here. Gachagua and Natembeya could cause a political earthquake in this country. If they come together, they have numbers, fresh energy, and the anger of Kenyans behind them. But unless they find trust, agree on leadership, and unite other forces like Raila's team that is confused, I want to tell you that Ruto will have a hard time to campaign 2027. Kenya is tired of old politics and empty promises. Gachagua and Natembeya ticket will send shockwaves across the country, but it's up to them to make it happen. Otherwise, it remains just another dream that dies before it starts. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe if you've not subscribed. Turn on the notification bell and wait for the next analysis. Goodbye.